Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Eloy. In this video, I want to try to teach you the player rules for Free League's Alien, the role-playing game. This video is part of a series. If you haven't watched the previous videos, check the playlist and start at number 1. Today we're going to talk about ranged combat. Ranged combat uses the range combat skill and requires line of sight to the target. Readying a weapon is a fast action. Firing a weapon is a slow action. Aiming is a fast action which can give you +2 to the attack roll. The aiming effect is lost if you do anything except shoot after aiming, or if you are hurt, in which case you lose your aiming bonus. This would mean that you'd need to spend another fast action to aim again. Range imposes modifications to your attack roll. The weapon tables indicate the maximum range for each weapon. Modifiers are applied to attack roll depending on your range. Medium range is -1 modification. Long range is -2 modification. Engaged range is -3 because the target is too close to you, unless that opponent is defenseless or unaware, in which case you get a +3 modification instead of the -3. Other modifications include target size. A large target, such as a vehicle, gets a +2 modification to the attack. A small object, such as a small hatch, a handheld item, or a chest burster, is -2 modifications. Resolution of the attack roll is as follows. If your attack roll succeeds, meaning you get 1 success on your die, this inflicts the weapon's damage rating upon the target. Remember that the target has the opportunity to roll their armor rating, do an armor check, to decrease that damage, in which case every 6 that the opponent's armor roll gets decreases your damage by 1. Remembering that this is a combat skill, you have the benefit of stunts. So for every extra 6 that you roll over the first, you can choose 1 stunt. That could be an additional +1 damage, which may be chosen multiple times. So if you roll 3 damage on an attack, the first success inflicts the normal damage that the weapon inflicts, and then the other 2 may be used to purchase stunts, such as an additional +1 damage twice, so that could bring your damage up to 5. Other stunts that you can choose with those successes, those extra 6s, you can pin down your enemy, which means that the enemy is hunkered down from fire, and they need to make an immediate panic roll if they are a player character. If they are an NPC, what they do is they miss their next slow action. So this is an important distinction. There's gunfire overhead. If the person being inflicted by this, if you are the person being pinned down and you are a player character, you need to make an immediate panic roll. But if the person being pinned down is an NPC, all that happens is that they miss their next slow action, which is important because attacks are slow actions. Other stunts include outmaneuvering your enemy, in which case you get to exchange your initiative card with theirs. This takes effect on the following round. Again, remember that your initiative is fixed at the beginning of the combat, unless you voluntarily exchange cards with a fellow player character, or you use a stunt such as this one to outmaneuver your opponent, and you take their initiative card and you give your card to them, and those become your new initiative positions for subsequent rounds. Another stunt is your choice of knocking out or pulling a weapon or other object from your opponent. Picking up a dropped object is a fast action. Another option is to push back an opponent, such as through an airlock, or to cause them to fall to the ground. Again, this is just another different type of stunt. Some weapons have the capacity for full auto fire, automatic fire. The weapon will specify if it's capable of doing this or not. When you do fully automatic fire, you do so as a normal ranged attack, but you get a +2 modification to your roll. Your stress level immediately increases by 1, which means you add the stress die to your roll for the full auto burst. Meaning, if you have a full auto capable weapon and you declare a full auto attack, automatically that bumps your stress level up by 1, and so you would add stress dice to your ranged attack, including a +2 modification for fully automatic fire. If you hit, then you can distribute any additional 6s that you roll beyond the first to other secondary targets. So you can choose that first success to hit the primary target and inflict the base weapon damage. And you can use additional 6s to inflict damage to secondary targets within short range of the primary. So you can't stray too far away, but if their targets are close together, you can hit one and move it to the next one. The first 6 that you assign to a secondary target again will inflict the damage equal to the damage rating of the weapon. And further 6s assigned to a secondary target can be used for stunts. So again, it's basically giving you the choice of hitting multiple targets, and you decide how many stunts you apply to damage of each target, right? But remembering that the first hit on a secondary target inflicts the base damage of the weapon. And normal stunts can be purchased for each. Nevertheless, well, this is subject to the rules that we discussed above. When you are in range combat, cover is very important. Taking cover in the same zone counts as a fast action. Cover has an armor rating and works just like armor. So you have to do this on your action. This is not a reaction. So, if somebody's firing at you and you're out in the open, you're going to have to, face the attack normally. But on your action, you have the chance to move into cover. Again, if the cover is within the same zone, whatever object is providing the cover, you can get there in a fast action, and that object will have an armor rating, meaning that you roll, when you are hit, you roll a number of base dice equal to the armor rating of the cover, and each success you roll lowers the damage by 1 point. And it does note that cover and armor can be combined. So what you do is you make a single roll, but you combine the armor ratings of both the cover and the armor that you are wearing, one big pool, and that's what you roll to negate incoming hits. And let's talk about ammo. The way ammo is conceptualized in the game, it doesn't run out of bullets unless you are in a stressful situation. Meaning, whenever you fire a weapon and roll 1 or more 1s on your stress dice, so meaning you get face huggers in your stress dice, that will trigger a panic roll as normal because you rolled a 1. But you also empty your magazine after the attack is completed. So the current attack follows through, assuming you make the panic roll and you can still hit the target. Your 6s count as normal. If the attack is successful and the panic roll is low enough where success of the action is still maintained, right? You empty the magazine after this attack and will need to reload. Reloading is a slow action, and it's important to keep track of your reloads. The game makes mention that androids, synthetics, don't have stress, so they don't run out of ammo. They're always controlled in their fire. And finally, there is something called Overwatch. Overwatch is a fast action which allows you to assume an Overwatch position in a specified direction. This requires a ranged weapon and no enemies within engaged range. So you cannot have enemies engaged to you at the time you enter the Overwatch position. You must specify a distance. So from the time you enter the Overwatch position until your initiative count in the following round, you can fire a weapon against a target in the chosen direction. This is useful for doing things like covering a corridor or hallway. You specify which direction of the corridor you're covering. You enter the Overwatch position with a fast action. And then if somebody moves across or something, then you can fire at them. It's important to note that you may fire at any time in the turn order. Your shot is resolved before all other actions, even if already declared. So the usefulness of this is, say you don't see any enemies, so you take your fast action, assume an Overwatch position down a corridor, and wait for somebody to show up. So between your initiative, when you've entered this Overwatch state, until your next initiative count, if somebody pops up into that corridor in your field of fire, you can attack at that moment. And even if it's somebody popping up to shoot you and they declare, on their initiative count, I move and I shoot, you can activate your Overwatch fire and your shot will be resolved before they can attempt to shoot at you. An enemy is not allowed to change their attack after your Overwatch attack. So again, in this situation, if the enemy pops up into the corridor and says they're shooting at you, and you get to shoot them, they don't get to change their action. They're already committed to shooting you. Firing in Overwatch counts as a normal attack, so it is a slow action. So in order to fire out of your turn, you must save your slow action in the round for any Overwatch attack you want to make. So, again, let's say you come up on this corridor, you can enter on your initiative count. If you don't see any enemies yet, you can declare, I am entering Overwatch as a fast action, and I'm saving my slow action for if anybody pops into the corridor. So again, it counts as a normal attack, a slow action. And so you must have a saved action to perform this. So if both you and an enemy assume Overwatch positions against each other, and both choose to fire against each other, then an opposed range combat roll determines which attack goes first. This roll does not count as an action for either of you. So this is in case both of you have, you're in the corridor. This is a little strange because you can enter Overwatch on your turn and save your slow to attack them, but that would mean that they're already visible because they can't do anything else. Maybe they have a talent where they can move, but if they are able on their initiative count after yours, after you're already in Overwatch position, to declare Overwatch against you, then instead of your shot going first, you're going to have to roll opposed range combat checks to see who goes first. And again, it is noted that this roll to determine who goes first does not count as an action. And so losing Overwatch is if you do any action other than Overwatch shoot, you lose the Overwatch position. The other criterion for losing Overwatch is if you are attacked in close combat, you immediately lose Overwatch, or if you suffer damage of any kind, you also lose the Overwatch position. And I think we'll leave it at that, and on the next video tackle damage and maybe stress and panic, which are the big two subjects left to cover. although there are other videos to be made regarding conditions and vehicular combat and some other details. So next time I think we're doing damage and possibly panic. So take care and see you soon. Thank you.